Breaking news, President Trump says U.S. forces have conducted a lethal kinetic strike that took out the leader of the brutal street gang Tren de Aragua. Now, the gang originally started in Venezuela, but its footprint has spread throughout our country like a virus in recent years. And they are vicious. They murder American citizens. They kidnap young women. They rob and maim people. They smuggle guns across state lines. They import deadly drugs into our communities. And they sexually traffic young women after they smuggle them into America. Well, President Trump finally getting justice for the carnage that this gang has unleashed on this country, writing on Truth Social, quote, "During my campaign, I pledged to expel these monsters from our country and bring justice to the families of those they slaughtered, including the precious 12-year-old Jocelyn Nungari, 22-year-old Laken Riley, and countless other beautiful souls." 12-year-old Jocelyn Nungari, you'll remember her, was sexually assaulted and then brutally murdered, allegedly at the hands of two Venezuelan nationals who the federal government suspects are members of Tren de Aragua. She fought so hard that prosecutors said she left bite and scratch marks on her attackers. And then who can forget 22-year-old Laken Riley? She was kidnapped and brutally murdered after a likely TDA gang member, who the feds say had TDA tattoos and wore TDA clothing, tried to rape her. She fought as hard as she could to stop that monster. And now those families have justice today. And Deputy White House Press Secretary Abigail Jackson joins me now. Abigail, this was big news. I was going to bed and I look at the president's Truth Social and I see this strike, the leader of TDA. And I love that he framed this as justice for young women.
Absolutely huge news. It is a promise made and a promise kept by this president. He promised justice for these women and for every single American family who has lost a loved one at the hands of these terrorists. The president has sent a clear message that any terrorist anywhere in the world who seeks to do harm to United States citizens will not be safe. And I think it is very clear after last night that he keeps his promises.
Yeah, and we've seen this, and it's easy for some of these things to get lost, but you have Maduro in handcuffs, you have an Ayatollah who is now gone, you have the head of TDA gone, hostages freed out of Israel. It is quite something what this president has done on the foreign policy stage. Yep. But I want to stick now with illegal immigration because something kind of went undercovered this week. It got a little bit of coverage, but first I want to play this. This is Javier Becerra, and here's what he says was not happening in the country. He said missing children was just a figment of your imagination.
During your time as HHS secretary, a New York Times investigation found the health department couldn't find some 85,000 children it had released.
That's not accurate. What you just read is not accurate. First, that's what I'll say, because it was never the case that we could not find kids. You're essentially, I don't know if you got those talking points from Donald Trump.
It's from a New York Times article.
That's not what the New York Times article said.
So fact check false. There were hundreds of thousands of missing children. And this week, Secretary Mullen had this to say about what your administration is doing. And I warn viewers, this is kind of hard to watch.
More than 475,000 unaccompanied children entered the United States during the Biden administration. 475,000. Over 300,000 cannot be accounted for at the end of 2024.
Because of President Trump, we finally funded them for 3 years. We're able to push and go find these kids. We found 146,000 kids so far. 146,000 kids. We still have nearly 300,000 missing. We're investigating reports to where some of these kids claim that they were raped 600 to 700 times.
How could the Biden administration deny that this was a problem?
I think it's absolutely ridiculous that anyone would try and deny reality. And this press conference, this announcement of an indictment against these super sponsors this week just highlighted that we are still feeling the impacts of Biden's border crisis every day. It's easy to look at the quiet border thanks to President Trump's great work securing it and say, okay, that problem is solved. But that's not the case. We're still dealing with the consequences and finding these missing children. And the reason these kids went unaccounted for is because the Biden administration had no vetting procedures in place. They just released these children to sponsors. They didn't do DNA checks when people claimed they were members of the same family. They didn't physically verify addresses. In many cases, they didn't even meet the sponsors in person, which is crazy. This administration has totally reversed that. And that's something that you would think is the bare minimum, to make sure that when someone says they're a family member, they're actually related to these children that are being released. But that's not the case. And in this press conference, they also announced the sentencing for an illegal alien who smuggled a young girl into the United States. He claimed this girl was his sister, a 14-year-old girl. She was not. The Biden administration wasn't doing DNA checks, so how were they to know? And this girl was sexually assaulted by this illegal alien. And so we are not only reversing the policies that made this so easy, but like Secretary Mullen said, like Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche said, we are going after the individuals who were let go for so long. We have, I think it's over 15,000 potential super sponsor cases that we've identified. So this administration, we're fixing the problems of the Biden administration, but we're also trying to right the wrongs of the past.
Yeah, and there are a lot of wrongs of the past.
Yes.
One such was the JCPOA under President Obama, which
Absolutely.
gave Iran a deal with sunset clauses and very little inspections. And, oh, you can't get a nuclear weapon today, but maybe a little ways down the road. Your administration is working on a deal with Iran. What's the latest? I talked to a senior administration official who said we're about 75% there.
President Trump is a master deal maker. I think the American people know that. And while I won't get ahead of him on any potential announcements, what I will say is that any deal will be good for America. His priorities this entire conflict have not changed, and that is to protect the safety and the security of the American people and make sure that Iran does not get a nuclear weapon. So details are still being worked out, but this president has the best interest of America in mind, and he certainly will not make the same mistake that Barack Obama did, and he's been very clear this entire time about what a bad deal that was.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.